So Netanyahu said the quiet part out loud. So you know I've been telling you about there's a thing called the Greater Israel Project, meaning they just don't want to stay where they are in Israel. They want to take over Gaza. They want to take over the West Bank. Oh, you already knew that? Did you know they want to take over parts of Jordan, Syria, Iraq, Egypt? Did you know all this? Yes, that's called the Greater Israel Project, and they've been doing this. They've been doing this. Netanyahu finally said the quiet part out loud today. He admits that his goals are to further the Greater Israel Project, so it's not about Hamas. It's not about Netanyahu. It's not about Saddam Hussein. It's not about Assad. It's about the Greater Israel Project. It's about them wanting to expand Israel, and they have to come up with excuses that you can buy. And one of them is the hostages. Release the hostages. It was never about that.
Well, I knew when they didn't release the hostages and Israel started killing their own hostages. That's why I put it together, Jimmy.
This genocide was never about Israel's right to defend itself. It was about setting the stage for global domination, says duopoly destroyer Nico House, friend of the show.
For those of you who are new to the channel, I had previously went over this for the most part. As you can see, the bottom video where it says the Zionists stole the true Israelites' identity in order to steal the promised land. So that video definitely is going to cover, everything that pretty much discussed in this video. But, so I will link this video link in the description, you know what I mean? And I will put it at the end screen. But you need to go back and watch this video, even if you've seen it before. Now that things are coming out, you might want to go back and rewatch that video. And with that being said, all praise to our Heavenly Father, the Most High Yah, name of our Lord and Savior. Some of y'all say Yahusha, some of y'all say Yahushua, and some of y'all say Jesus. All right. So as you can see, the Jimmy Dore show, they're coming out, and basically because Netanyahu came out and said, he really was in support of, the Greater Israel Project. Now people are starting to come back and say, well, we already knew what this was, right? Oh, now it's hitting mainstream media. And they're acting like, oh, this is a great revelation. Oh, this is what this really was the whole time. No, y'all know what this has been the whole time. There's books written about this stuff. Like I said, we covered this about 5 months ago, right? But for those of you who are new or who may not remember all this stuff, let's go ahead and talk about the Greater Israel Project, okay? What is the Greater Israel Project? So let's go to scripture first. All right, so when we pick this up in Genesis chapter 15, verse 18, what do we see? In the same day, the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates. All right, so next we go to the AI overview. And what we see is where it says, the term Greater Israel refers to a political idea or concept, not a formally defined or recognized state. It envisions a larger territory than the current state of Israel, often including parts of neighboring countries. This idea is linked to the historical and religious narratives associated with Zionism and the land of Israel, and it is a source of ongoing controversy and conflict. So here's a map, and as you can see, okay, you see where they got this drawn, the red lines from the Great River of Egypt, okay, which is over here, to the Euphrates River, right, which is right here. Okay, so all this area in between, they really have been trying to conquer. Okay, now of course, here's Israel right here, and so that land right now is where there's so much conflict going, is because they're basically going over here trying to take over Palestine and get rid of the Palestinians, right? But remember, they've had wars here in Syria with Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton and them. And even the Biden administration had a lot of wars going on over there with Syria. Remember with Bush, you know what I'm saying? They had a lot of wars and stuff going on here and with Iraq, right? So you see what I'm saying? Now, the people that ain't really got no problems so far, has been Jordan, right? And Saudi Arabia and all these people over in here. But their plan, and this is why people are in an uproar now, this is why the media is talking about it, because Netanyahu came out and admitted that this is what the real plan is that they wanted to go and take over all of this land. Now let's go to Joshua chapter 1, right? Because you see initially the promise was given to Abraham. But this is where the Israelites come into play, okay? So when we go in Joshua chapter 1, it says, now after the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord, it came to pass that the Lord spake unto Joshua, the son of Nun, Moses' minister, saying, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now therefore arise, go over this Jordan, thou and all this people, unto the land which I do give to them, even to the children of Israel. Right? So you see, there's land that the Most High promised the children of Israel. But he said, you got to do certain things in order to stay in this land. If not, I'm going to kick you out and scatter you all over the place, right? Verse 3, in every place that the sole of your foot shall tread upon, that have I given unto you, as I said unto Moses, from the wilderness and this Lebanon, even unto the great river, the river Euphrates, all the land of the Hittites, and unto the great sea, toward the going down of the sun, shall be your coast, okay? So this is what he told, you know what I'm saying, Joshua, that y'all were going to have it from the sea. So this is why sometimes people don't include Egypt into it. But the sea would be the Mediterranean Sea, right? From there all the way to the Euphrates, okay? So now this is where they're getting that, oh, this is Israel's land. But the key to this is, who are the children of Israel? That's where the deception has come into play. All right, but anyway, let's go back to Jimmy Dore's video.
There it is. Antiwar.com. Netanyahu says he's very much attached to the vision of greater Israel. And listen, here I'll play it for you. So he was being interviewed. This is from Middle Eastern Eye 24 News. And this, what are we doing here? So he says, you got to ask the question, what are we doing here? And here's what he says. I'll read it to you. We are on a mission for generations. There are generations of Jews who dreamed, and there are generations of Jews who will come after us. So you ask if I feel like I am on a mission, historically and spiritually? And the answer is yes. The guy says, I don't want to complicate things for you. At the end up with the 6,000 case, but... And then, what is this? This is my vision. It's one of the things I dreamed about. And he's handing him an amulet that has the greater Israel on it. And he says, the time has come. It's called Jerusalem. I'm not giving this to you. I'm giving this to you to give to your wife, Sarah. So he says, thank you very much. Do you connect with the vision of greater Israel? And Netanyahu says, very much. Really? Very much. This is the greater Israel. So that's what this is all about.
All right, so y'all see, everybody's on here acting like this is a great brand new thing. You know, like, oh, wow, I can't believe he just admitted it. As you see here from this photo, right? This is a greater Israel patch on the IDF, which is the Israel Defense Forces. This is a patch on their uniforms, right? You can see greater Israel on the soldier uniform, right? Look, you see that? From the river all the way to the Euphrates. So now why are everybody acting like this is something brand new just because Netanyahu basically said so, you know what I mean, in the little interview? They got it on their freaking arms, on their uniforms. Come on, man.
A few years ago, I stood here with a red marker to show the curse, a great curse, the curse of a nuclear Iran. But today I bring this marker to show a great blessing, the blessing of a new Middle East between Israel, Saudi Arabia, and our other neighbors. We will not only bring down barriers between Israel and our neighbors, we'll build a new corridor of peace and prosperity that connects Asia through the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Israel, to Europe. This is an extraordinary change, a monumental change, another pivot of history. But I also believe that we must not give the Palestinians a veto over new peace treaties with Arab states. Sanctions must be snapped back. And above all, Iran must face a credible nuclear threat.
All right, I want y'all to see something here. Look at the date of when he did this, you know, at the United Nations, okay? It was the 22nd of September, 2023. Now remember, he was in here talking about not giving Palestinians a vote. They wanted to set up a corridor from India all the way up through that region that he has in green, right? And you can see that area basically is the same thing as the Greater Israel Project. But he said he wanted to set up a corridor so that they can move goods from India all the way up through that area so that they can, trade, with Europe, okay? But you see, this all happened the 22nd of September, 2023. Now, y'all already know all of this stuff jumped off between Hamas and Israel on October the 7th, 2023. So it was only about 2 weeks later. So remember, they got all this stuff getting ready to be planned this year, at the United Nations in September. So now we know we got to be on the lookout. They are up to something with all of this stuff coming out now. All right, let's go back to the next clip.
And it will be important to remember this when Netanyahu's at The Hague. That's all. I think it'd be good to bring this point up.
He will never be at The Hague. But they already did. So that, how Mike Johnson smuggled in a red heifer using, I don't know why you're not supposed to export beef to Israel or something, but he brought one in under some pet law and they did a rehearsal sacrifice of the red heifer. And then they came out and said, no, we did the real sacrifice of the red heifer. So that craziness that I just said, which sounds insane, that's Bible beater dispensational shit for the last 30 years they've been talking about. So these maniacs are going to try to reenact some kind of like revelation thing. They're all together. It's not just the Christian maniacs. It's those Jewish ones about Gog and Magog and all that shit. They're all together on it. And it's a cult. And they really believe in what they're doing.
So did y'all see what he just done? He blamed religion. You see? This is what they're trying to push over, right? They know that the Most High has prophesied that he would regather the children of Israel from all the places that he has scattered them to, right? We know that this is prophecy. They tried to lie to everybody and tell everybody that it was fulfilled in 1948. Now they're sitting here and saying, oh, this is the reason that we got all of these problems going on. And these people are trying to, fulfill this Bible, this religious book. When the truth of the matter is, none of them will bring up this Albert Pike letter to Mazzini, right? Because in it, he tells us exactly what the Luciferians was up to, okay? So this is for some of y'all who may not know. The Albert Pike was a Confederate general in the United States of America, a Freemason. And he wrote a letter to this Giuseppe Mazzini, right? And as you can see, the following is a letter that speculation claimed that Albert Pike wrote to Giuseppe Mazzini in 1871 regarding a conspiracy involving 3 world wars that were planned in an attempt to take over the world. So you see, they're not just trying to take over that little region, they're trying to take over the world. All right, so when we jump down in this letter to the Second World War, as we've covered this before, we see the Second World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences between the fascists and the political Zionists. This war must be brought about so that Nazism is destroyed and that the political Zionism be strong enough to institute a sovereign state of Israel in Palestine. That's exactly what they did after World War II, right? During the Second World War, international communism must become strong enough in order to balance Christendom so that Christianity wouldn't keep spreading, which would be then restrained and held in check until the time when we would need it for the final social cataclysm. The Third World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agent of the Illuminati between the political Zionists, okay, so these people that went down there into the Israel saying that they were Jewish people, right? So we're going to start a war between them and the leaders of the Islamic world, which now we see they keep on talking about Iran. You see what Netanyahu said when he was at the UN General Assembly, what he said about Iran. Oh, we got to have a nuclear threat for Iran, even though they say Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon. Right. And so we already know just a couple months ago, the United States and Israel went over there and planned and bombed Iran. Right. So we see that they are actually doing everything that is said. But yet none of these internet people, none of the news will sit here and bring this up. They trying to make it look like this is, a bunch of religious zealots. You know what I'm saying? So this is exactly what they said they were going to do. Right. So it says the war must be conducted in such a way that Islam, the Muslim Arabic world, and political Zionism, the state of Israel, mutually destroy each other. So they don't intend on anybody to win. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economical exhaustion. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm, which in all its horror will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origin of savagery, and of the most bloody turmoil. And we see the savagery going on over there in Gaza, them starving people, them dropping bombs on people, destroying whatever. We see what they're doing. That's why the world is crying out against this, right? Then everywhere, the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization, and the multitude disillusioned with Christianity. So all of this was to make people lose faith in Christianity, and the Bible. That's why all of them are talking against the Bible in the indirect way right now, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal, but without knowing whether to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out in the public view. So you see, this is a devilish, demonic, agenda that they have. And the Bible tells us that at the end, this final kingdom would get its power from that great dragon, which is called Satan. So all of this lines up with scripture, but yet you got a bunch of people running their mouth that they don't want to tell about what the Luciferians are doing. They want to pin all the blame of this savagery on the Bible.
And so, he let the cat out of the bag there. So that's him saying, this is about the Greater Israel Project, which is a big misstep because he told the truth. That's what a gaffe is. A gaffe in politics is when you accidentally tell the truth. He forgot to tell the lie. The lie is like, no, we don't want to expand. We just want to fight terrorism.
We want a two-state solution.
Yeah. So, in modern political context, Greater Israel could refer to Israel taking complete control of Gaza, the West Bank, and the Golan Heights. There's even more to that. But for more ideological Zionists, including members of Netanyahu's government, Greater Israel means Israel expansion into Jordan, into Syria, into Lebanon, Iraq, and Saudi Arabia, based on biblical interpretations. I'm going to think there's got to be Egypt in there too. And so here's a map of it. So this is Greater Israel. So there's Jordan, there's Syria, because they want to go all the way to Damascus. There's Iraq, that's Baghdad. There's parts of Egypt, there's Cairo. Looks like parts of Saudi Arabia too. I don't know.
Why is Saudi Arabia cool with that? Because they're in on it with Israel. Why are they cool with that?
They must be.
Well, what they did to the Houthis and the Saudi Arabia has been in on it for a while, and a lot of Zionists like Saudi Arabia now because that prince is in.
So Israel's like a cancer that just keeps spreading.
This sounds like what they say about Putin, that Putin wants to keep spreading, but which they don't. But guess who does? The most moral army.
All right, so y'all see what they're doing, right? You see, number one, they faked the regathering, okay? And you see, these people keep on bringing up the Bible and speaking against the Bible, but they won't tell what I just read you as far as Albert Pike's letter is concerned. They won't tell the people about this Luciferian agenda. You see what I'm saying? This devilish agenda that they're doing. They're using the identity of the true children of Israel who were put on slave ships and scattered all over the world, right? They use our identity. This is the reason why they all came. The Arabs was involved in this. The Catholics was involved in this. And the Jewish people who are running the banking in the world and the shipping and all that type of stuff, they were involved in all of this, right? Of removing the true children of Israel and scattering them all over the world, which was a fulfillment of prophecy. Now what they're trying to do, though, is they're trying to make it look like that this regathering is a bunch of, religious nonsense. You know what I'm saying? So they're trying to get ahead of it because now that they've been found out that they faked it. that they're frauds, that they're not the real children of Israel. So now they got, to go along with the narrative. Oh yes, the Jewish people, and we came back here, and yes, and whatever, because they want to make the Father look like he was vain and that he brought them back. But you know what I'm saying? They couldn't defeat their enemies. Well, we already know if they were the true children of Israel, this is where Christian Zionism fails the test. If they were the true children of Israel and they don't accept Christ, they don't have an atonement, there's no way they would be able to stand before their enemies, right? So this is why we know that they told a lie, and they're keeping on telling this lie. But now they're doing a whole nother get ahead of what's coming, you know what I'm saying, according to scripture. The Most High is gathering these Gentiles down into these lands, right? Now they're trying to take the land away from the Arabs, of which they had a league with. That's why he told you that Saudi Arabia was part of this. Because remember, without Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and OPEC, right? Without that, the dollar would have collapsed a long time ago, right? So this is how Saudi Arabia and all them oil producing whatever, they got rich because of the petrodollar. The dollar, you know what I'm saying, only had value because countries had to get dollars in order to trade for oil. That's what's called the petrodollar. So you see, all of this stuff ties in, but these devils are trying to pull the wool over everybody's eyes. And now that the Most High is waking up the true children of Israel, and people are saying, well, wait a minute, they the ones fit prophecy. Y'all don't even fit prophecy. Now you see they got to go out here and they're just going full steam ahead. All right, let's go back to the Jimmy Dore video.
Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich caused controversy in 2023 when he spoke at an event that displayed a map of Greater Israel that included Jordan. Wow. Smotrich, who has significant power in the current Israeli government, said in an interview for a documentary produced by Arte, a European public service channel, that Israel would take territory in Arab countries little by little, and said that it is written that the future of Jerusalem is to expand to Damascus.
Where's that written?
Glenn Deason says Netanyahu speaks of Greater Israel while his defenders still pretend this is all about releasing hostages. Yeah. And Dropsite says, breaking, Israel in talks to resettle Palestinians in South Sudan.
Oh.
The Associated Press reports that Israeli officials have held talks with South Sudan about moving Palestinians from Gaza to the East African state, a country still recovering from civil war and facing acute food shortages. Sources familiar with the discussion say Israel has approached other nations with similar proposals as part of Prime Minister Netanyahu's push for what he calls voluntary migration.
Hey, how about Israel moves to Ukraine where they're from?
How about that?
Uh-oh, did you hear that? Yeah, I told you, they singing like birds. I mean, Israel go back to Ukraine where they're from. Now, for those of you who may not know, Israel had planned on going back to Crimea in 2014, but Putin annexed Crimea. Was it because he blocked, you know what I mean, these Jewish people from coming and settling there, right? Is it, you know what I mean, that Putin's working with these people or working against them? You see what I'm saying? Is Putin actually, you know what I mean? Did they destroy Ukraine and all this type of stuff now so that those people will be forced to go down into Palestine, right? Or did Putin just block them from coming up there or bringing all these people over here because he's like, no, y'all going to start all this stuff with us. And then the next thing you know, we're going to end up in a big war with you anyway. So I'm getting ahead of it. So now it's funny that Trump, you know what I'm saying? As of the time of me shooting this video, Trump is going over there to meet with Putin in Alaska. Now, I don't know the results of that yet. But now, can you understand that if they have been bombing Ukraine and now they're putting out this narrative, right, that Netanyahu just now admitted that they want to take over all these Arab countries. Now you get the Arab countries that want to attack Israel. You see what I'm saying? Because they couldn't get all this stuff. You know, they didn't have a narrative when they went over there and struck Iran the first time, and nobody supported that. But are they building a narrative now in which the Arabs will attack Israel, right? And then when you get the Arabs attacking Israel, you're going to have to bring other people down from the Ukraine, who they have been bombed and they don't got no place to come down there and build that region up, because they're going to have a hard time selling this war to America. You know what I mean? That's why I think this thing really went left on them when that whole attack on Iran and their nuclear facilities, because Americans was like, we don't care who's president. We ain't, just because Trump tried to make it look like he was making America great again, we ain't supporting him going over here. That's the same thing that Bush did. That's the same thing Obama did. That's the same thing Biden did. And now you're doing the exact same thing. You ain't got us fooled, right? So this is why you got a whole bunch of stuff going on right now, right? And I'm just trying to make sure that I explain this so that y'all know what y'all looking at and what y'all looking for, but you also understand they got a hidden narrative up underneath all of this stuff, right? There's a hidden narrative that they're trying to teach and preach to everybody, and they're trying to basically turn you against the Bible. All right, so before we move on, I want to show y'all something. Here's that little region that we know is Israel, okay? And we know that Palestine, you know, they want to move the Palestinians out of here, and they said into South Sudan, right? So that would bring them all the way down into like this region down in here, you know, in the South Sudan. Now, what you need to know about South Sudan, Egypt and Sudan used to be one country, right? This was called Upper Egypt, right? This was Upper Egypt. This was Lower Egypt, right? But now, you see, if they are basically going to move these people down into this region, we all know that these people here in Sudan are black. But guess what? If you relocate all those Arabs and start moving them into Sudan, you're going to change, you know what I mean, the makeup, just like how they've changed Egypt and they changed, you know what I mean, Sudan and all. You're going to change the makeup of the complexion of the people in those regions, right? Meanwhile, what is this going to look like here in Israel? This will look like it's a bunch of, you know, people that come from Ukraine. Now remember, Ukraine is up through that area, okay, all the way up through here, right? Ukraine and Russia. But you're going to bring all these people down here, you know, and then you're going to basically be moving people around, you know what I'm saying? And you're going to be changing the complexion of the people in the region. This is the Japheth Gentiles coming over and relocating peoples out of the Middle East and bringing them into the land of Ham. You see what I'm saying? And you see how all of this is just going to change and confuse all of the region to the point that they're trying to make it look like it's biblical that the Father brought them back into that land when they know that they're lying. All right. Okay. So now let's go back to the Jimmy Dore video.
Here, someone put this together about the Greater Zionist Project, and they talked about it 60, 70 years ago. Watch this.
Particularly who were against anything that was to be done if they couldn't have the whole of Palestine and everything handed to them on a silver plate so they wouldn't have to do anything. It couldn't be done. We had to take it in small doses. You can't move 5 or 6 million people out of a country and fill it up with 5 or 6 million more.
5 or 6 million people out of a country and...
So it wasn't really a land without people for a people without land.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
We had to take it in small doses.
We had to take it in small doses.
We had to take it in small doses. You can't move 5 or 6 million people out of a country and fill it up with 5 or 6 million more and expect both sets.
We're conducting an expansionist policy of Israel, and everybody's afraid to say it.
The Zionists, particularly, who were against anything that was to be done if they couldn't have the whole of Palestine and everything handed to them on a silver plate so they wouldn't have to do anything. It couldn't be done. We had to take it in small doses. You can't move 5 or 6 million people out of a country and fill it up with 5 or 6 million more.
So I'm pretty sure that's a former president of the United States telling you what the Zionist plan was for Palestine. And
right.
if you want to see what Palestine used to look like...
5 or 6 million people out of a country and...
So it wasn't really a land without people for a people without land.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
We had to take it in small doses.
We had to take it in small...
So that's what Palestine looked like. So the Palestinians are in green, right? And they controlled all of Palestine. And then...
doses.
And then here comes the Zionists, 46.
Take it in small doses.
And then here they 1947. Wasn't that when the Balfour Declaration went into?
Can't move.
And boom, look at all of them. Whoa. So that's when they had to do the Nakba. And look, so now look how they're taking it. So,
6 million people out.
That's in 60s. Look how bad it was in 66. Well, look how it is
fill
now.
it up with 5 or 6 million more and expect both.
2023. It's almost all gone.
All right, so y'all see. That's the United States President Harry Truman who said that. You know what I mean? You don't just bring people in, you know what I'm saying, until you kind of move people out. You can't just whatever. You got to gradually do this thing. Where else did they do that at? America, right? Remember, the copper-colored Native Americans that was here, you see what I'm saying? What did they do when they took over this land? Brought in a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit more here. The immigrants kept pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing them till they pushed them off to the West Coast and eventually onto these reservations currently as we speak, right? They moved the Native Americans out, right? And some of the Native Americans, they went from being called Native Americans to being called blacks. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, there's a whole lot to all of this. But you see the same thing that these United States people over here in America did. That's why you can see why they're involved in all of this stuff over there. It's the same type of stuff. They come over, they take lands, and they relocate people, and they kill people in order to take the land, right? So now, not only did they do that here, there's this same colonization we're seeing that's happening over there in Palestine. What did they do? They had to have a reason and an excuse. That's what Albert Pike said. They needed an excuse. What was the excuse? Germany, Hitler. Oh, he's doing this. Remember, Hitler at first, from like 1931 to 1940, I showed y'all that before. The Havre Agreement, right? Where he was basically helping them to immigrate down there before any persecution of the Jewish people happened. But then when they wasn't going fast enough, then the next thing you know, they started World War II. And then, you know, the Jewish people were being persecuted. And then that's when they start really having to flee and get out of there, right? So that's why in 1947, when you seen the clip, it was like, boom, you seen all those people come down there, right? But now here's the thing. When they came down there, they made them fight and kill the Palestinians. That's Palestinians. That I'm trying to tell you, this stuff gets deeper and deeper. But anyway, what you see now is how they relocate peoples, right? And that's all they're doing now. Now, of course, when the Arabs find out and understand all this, because they're basically broadcasting, everybody's saying it, what you think the Arabs is going to do? Oh, the same way we came up here. You know what I mean? Y'all going to try to come get us next. Remember when the true children of Israel went in there before? You know what I'm saying? When the Ammonites and Moab and all them didn't want them coming in there, right? They're like, oh, y'all coming to kill us and take over the land. So, of course, these people want to stand up and fight. But see, the bottom line is what they don't understand is you Gentiles who are lying and going over there to do things, the Most High was with Israel, the real Israelites, when he gave that land to them. And he promised that land to Israel. And he said, I'm going to regather you and bring you back to that land. Y'all can't go in here and then tell a lie about who y'all are and go over and take that land that he didn't promise to the true children of Israel, who got scattered, had yokes of iron on their neck, put on slave ships. You know what I mean? Families broke up and all this. Y'all done all this stuff. That's why y'all going to get punished. So go on down there, do what you're going to do. You know what I'm saying? But you're going to be punished. Right now, the Most High just using y'all to execute judgment on the Arabs for what they done, right? So anyway, let's go back, you know what I'm saying, to this Jimmy Dore, you know what I mean, video.
So what's that, Kurt?
Everything's working.
Yeah, it's working.
According to plan. So all the stupid TV preacher type Christianity that you saw for years and years,
yeah,
those are the Christian Zionists that are working off the Schofield Bible from early Zionism back in the day, when they basically all the American evangelical horseshit came from England through Zionists. That's a fact. And so the Schofield Bible is the one. So you know these wacky Christians that think those Jewish terrorists that support Netanyahu are right? They've groomed them for years and years and years. Now, if you watch people doing Christian stuff, because I watch everybody's stuff, they're all talking about this Bible translation made by a con man on behalf of some weird Zionist in New York named Untermeyer. And that's what all this is about. They were calling it dominionism a few years ago. The bad evangelicals were called dominionism if you're a liberal. That's what this is part of. And they're going to act out, just like Bill Maher warned in his Religulous movie, religious nuts are acting out stuff from the Bible, and they're going to make them happen on their own. So that's why they don't care about nukes or anything that happens to you, is because they think they are personally responsible to fulfill the prophecy of Revelation, which if you actually read the Bible, you would know you're not. But they're scumbags, all of them. They're all part of some weird cult, and it breaks off in a lot of little cults, and that's what they're going to do this stuff whether you like it or not.
We should do a segment on the Schofield Bible.
So you see, they're blaming everything on Christians. You see what I'm saying? Oh, these wacky Christians and all this type of stuff. The Schofield Bible. Oh, it's the Bible's the reason, but all this stuff is happening. You know what I mean? Where they told a lie. You see what I'm saying? The Bible tells you, you know what I'm saying, what this was all about. Y'all don't want to bring up what the Luciferians, you know what I'm saying, the Jews who say they are Jews and are not, but the synagogue of Satan. You know what I mean? You don't want to bring up Albert Pike. You don't want to say any of that stuff. You don't want to blame this, you know what I'm saying, on y'all devil worshipers who basically are trying to turn people's heart against the Most High, right? See, y'all want to sit up here and blame the Bible. Now it's the Schofield Bible. And see, Candace is involved in this too, right? Because she's the one bringing up all this, oh, the Schofield Bible was this and whatever. Now y'all going to blame the Schofield Bible? He only talked about the regathering. You see what I'm saying? You know, I have a Schofield Bible. But the bottom line is that don't got nothing to do with the scriptures. Now, if you go down there reading his notes and all this type of stuff, when him talking about the regathering has to occur. That's true. You see what I'm saying? But it ain't with them people that y'all lied and said it was. And y'all do not want to tell the truth about who the true children of Israel are. Now, you've seen so far in this whole thing, he didn't even bring up one scripture. They didn't bring up one scripture, and they have not mentioned anything about the Hebrew Israelites in none of this, right? As if we don't matter, as if this ain't got nothing to do with anything. Right? This is how they're trying to now change the narrative and make it look like, oh, it's the wacky Christians, it's the wacky Zionists. They're all working together. And that's the reason why we're all going to have a war and we're all going to die because of these religious nuts and zealots. Right? When y'all are a bunch of liars and y'all are really the ones who are behind all this. Right? Let's go to this next clip. I want to show y'all about U.S. involvement with Israel and what Nixon has said in the 90s. Let me show y'all this next clip.
You make the observation in your book, and you say that you have said it many times when you were president of the United States, that no president is ever going to desert Israel, right?
Correct. I put it more bluntly. I said, as I told congressional leaders during the 1973 Yom Kippur War, no American president will let Israel go down the tube.
All right.
Democrat or Republican, it's not an issue.
That is stated fairly categorically, and yet in your book you make it clear at the same time that Israel really is not of any enormous strategic value to the United States anymore.
That's correct.
So why then would the United States continue to burden itself with huge loans, in some cases outright grants, to the Israelis, jeopardize possibly young American fighting men, when there is no strategic value involved, or little strategic
Because the
value?
United States is concerned by more than strategic values. That's maybe a weakness, but it's the way we are. And there are moral issues involved here. We don't have an alliance with Israel, as you know. They're not an ally of the United States in the technical sense. But we have a bond to Israel that's much stronger. It's a moral commitment because of what happened during the Holocaust, and a moral commitment because it is a democracy, the only democracy in that area. And under the circumstances, that is why American presidents and the American people in the future will support all out the survival of Israel if it's attacked.
You've always been a very tough, pragmatic man. And I just wonder if you were the president of Israel and you heard Richard Nixon talking that way, or for that matter, heard any sitting American president talk that way, and say, but there's really no strategic value anymore, how much faith would you place in that kind of a moral commitment if push really came to shove?
If I were the president of Israel, I put a great deal of faith in it because of the track record of the United States, and also because he would know that that is the way the American people are. There is no doubt whatever of our commitment to Israel.
All right, so y'all see. Now, this is a United States president talking about we don't really have a strategic, you know what I mean, allyship with Israel. You know what I mean? We don't benefit from that, but we have a moral commitment based on what happened in the Holocaust. Well, wait a minute. The United States didn't have anything to do with the Holocaust, right? So why ain't that Germany's responsibility? Y'all been making them pay. Why is the United States paying, right? This is why American Christians are now starting to say, wait a minute, why are we spending all that, taking loans and all this and defending for what? What's that got to do with us? You see what I'm saying? And here they talk about having a moral commitment to the Jewish people, as if this country hasn't had a immoral commitment to the Native Americans and the descendants of the transatlantic slave trade that got brought over here, right? You know what I'm saying? Where's your moral commitment to them? You come over here and took land just like you're doing over there, and you grab people from a whole nother land and kidnapped them and brought them over here and put them in bondage and slavery, right? But yet you don't want your moral commitment ain't there. You see what I'm saying? But the bottom line is, see, if we sit there and look at that and don't understand, we are the true children of Israel, and the reason why this stuff happened to us was because we had trespassed the covenant, right? That's the only way we can make sense of all this, because y'all look like blatant hypocrites to us, right? And that's why so many of us need to understand who we are and understand the covenant so that we can have some type of peace and rest in our hearts because of everything that has happened to us while we've been over here. Because now that's why so many of us don't want nothing to do with Christianity, right? Because there's a bunch of hypocrites, you know what I'm saying? Talking about Israel and standing and supporting Israel and all this, and you sit here and hung us off trees? Really? Where was your moral support there, right? So the bottom line is, this is what we're talking about here. And this is why they're trying to make this a political issue, because this was their way of supporting, you know what I'm saying, these Gentiles going in and trying to take over the Middle East. You see what I'm saying? So what did, you know, even back then you heard Nixon talking about. The bottom line is, this is the only democracy over there in that region, right? Well, we know most all of them over there practicing democracy. What are you talking about? You see what I'm saying? Just because y'all, come on, man. It's ridiculous. But anyway, let's go back to this next clip of, you got some the breaking points. They brought this stuff up, you know what I'm saying, about Israel, you know what I mean, and Netanyahu and the Greater Israel Project. And then I want y'all to see this, because they take it on a political perspective too. All of this is about politics. All this is about, oh, these wacky religious people. That's all that they're talking about. But they don't want to get into the Luciferian agenda that's behind this, nor do they want to talk about the true Hebrew Israelites who are scattered, and that this prophecy is that we have to go back, not these fake Jewish synagogue of Satan people. Let me show you the next clip.
All right, let's go ahead and throw this up on the screen, a little update about some of the full mask off that the Israelis are going on at this point. So Netanyahu says he is on a historic and spiritual mission, and that he feels a connection to the vision of Greater Israel. Let me go ahead and read this specifically. He was asked if he feels a connection to that vision of Greater Israel. Netanyahu says, quote, very much. That question about a Greater Israel, after he asked the premier if he feels he's on a mission on behalf of the Jewish people, Netanyahu answers he's on a mission of generations. There are generations of Jews that dreamt of coming here, and generations of Jews who will come after us. So if you're asking if I have a sense of mission, historically and spiritually, the answer is yes. And this has been a pretty consistent theme here, Sagar, that like from the beginning, if you'd listened to either the most hyperbolic leftist or the most psychotic settlers, you would have a much better understanding. Yeah. Certainly don't listen to the Western press. Certainly don't listen to the US politicians who just pretend they have no idea what's going on, even as you have words directly out of the mouths of the Prime Minister, the Minister of Defense, like the, Smotrich, Ben-Gvir, the members of his coalition, etc. They just pretend they don't hear or see any of that. But at this point in time, Netanyahu is feeling so emboldened, thanks to a combination of Biden and now Trump, enabling every atrocity and allowing him to do literally whatever he wants, apparently, that he is just out and out saying, yeah, Greater Israel, I'm into that. Mm-hmm. Just so people, if they don't know. Now, in fairness, there are apparently different conceptions of what quote unquote Greater Israel might mean. Some of them mean just from the river to the sea, you might say, including quote unquote Judea and Samaria in the Israeli, which is the West Bank, in with Israel and the Gaza Strip. But there is a more expansive vision as well. We can put this map up on the screen that looks like this, includes Egypt, includes part of Egypt, part of Saudi Arabia, part of Iraq, part of Syria, all of Jordan, the Sinai Peninsula, of course, all of Israel plus the West Bank plus Gaza. so, just putting it out there that this is a potential vision, and certainly the actions that Israel has taken, given that they have been bombing almost all of these countries over the past couple of years, again, with our support and arming them, makes it much less preposterous than it felt at one point. We can put this up on the screen, C3. Saudi Arabia, very unhappy with these comments from Prime Minister Netanyahu. Foreign Ministry expressing the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia's condemnation in the strongest terms possible of the statements made by the Prime Minister of the Israeli occupation government regarding the so-called vision of Greater Israel, and expresses its outright rejection of the settlement and expansionist plans adopted by the Israeli occupation authority. So, Sagar, what did you make of these comments?
Well, the Saudi Arabian ones are interesting because the entire theory is the Abraham Accords and all of that. But the whole point around Greater Israel is just the ideological vision and divorcing it from the things that they say, as in like, look, we're just about dismantling Hamas. We're just about occupying Gaza. We're not going to stay there. We promise, even though we said that there was going to be an indefinite presence. I mean, the reason why KSA is so upset about the map is because, did you see the map that we put up?
Yeah,
like
it's got half of Saudi
their
Arabia.
Country
Yeah.
in it. And the reason why you are forced to take it seriously is because of the actions of the Israeli government under Netanyahu. If it was just Gaza, it would be part of the Greater Israel Project, but you have to contextualize it with the current treatment of the West Bank, of the two-tiered system of justice, of the indefinite presence in Lebanon, of the indefinite presence in Syria, of the overthrowing of the Syrian government, and then basically trying to establish a Druze Israeli free zone inside of a country outside of the Golan Heights of the 67, recognized borders, right? So like all of these things point to an expansionist rogue power. And we're going to get to a little bit later on in the show about the potential war with Iran, but it all fits together as part of something which is just destabilization, regime change everywhere else in order to serve this smaller nation, which could never do any of this without the backstop of the United States of America.
Yeah.
That's really the point.
All right, so you hear, not only are the Christians taking the brunt of the reason why all this happened, the wacky religious Christians, you see how they all talk about that? But also it's the United States of America, right? You heard what he just said. None of this could be done without the United States of America. But wait a minute. Britain was the one that issued the Balfour Declaration, right? And between Britain and Russia and Germany, all those people in World War II end up having to go down into this land, into this region. So keep in mind, you know what I'm saying? Europe had a major hand into all of this, right? And yet he doesn't give them no accountability on it. He just blames everything on America, and they blame everything on the American Christian Zionists, right? But everybody else don't have nothing to do with any of this, right? Let's go back to the clip.
Recognize the historic moment that they're in, where support for Israel is plummeting off a cliff. I mean, we're the only country that really matters to them.
Correct.
And support for them is plummeting off a cliff. They've already lost the Democratic Party. It's gone. I don't think you're going to get a 2028 Democratic nominee who holds the same positions that Joe Biden and Obama and every other, bipartisan politician has on Israel in modern history. I don't think you're going to get that in 2028. I don't think it's going to be possible. And certainly the Democratic base is disgusted and horrified by what our tax dollars have done. And on the Republican side, as we've discussed, you have a younger generation that thinks very differently. I think they know that. And so that's why they are really going for it, trying to secure this greater Israel vision, abandoning the pretext that just think of how preposterous it is at this point, to pretend like, oh, this is all just in self-defense and we're doing these limited, targeted strikes against Hamas and this is just all about going after the bad guys who got us on October 7th. Utterly and completely preposterous when you consider the number of countries that they're bombing, the territory that they've annexed, the actions in the West Bank, that we're going to talk a little bit more about, that Jasper Nathaniel has been highlighting. I mean, the West Bank annexation is all but complete. And this is all in quote-unquote self-defense for October 7th. You'd have to be a fool to believe that at this point, or a liar, which, there are many of those as well. Just to take it back to what the settlers have been saying, because they've long been pushing this biblical vision, quote-unquote, of Greater Israel. Let's go ahead and take a listen to Daniela Weiss explaining why this is central to her conception and her ideological goals.
How big is that land? Because
it's very big.
No. This is the promise of God to the patriarchs of the Jewish nation. It's 3,000 kilometers. It's almost as big as the Sahara Desert.
So this is the biblical Israel.
Yes.
Can I call it? Yeah. So and this is so which countries are these?
And which country? Don't mention. I think it's Iraq.
Iraq.
And Syria.
So you believe?
And part of Saudi Arabia. This is a holy place. It's a place, one part of the universe that was chosen by God. It's a kind of a stage for the Jewish nation to express the ideas and ideals of the Jewish nation.
So there you go. It's very large. She lays down for you. It's Iraq, it's Syria, it's part of Saudi Arabia. This is God's promise to us. This is also why theocracies are really bad. Mm-hmm. Because if you believe that your religion justifies a genocide, rogue wars against all your neighbors, this incredibly, expansionist, aggressive foreign policy, if you believe that, and, obviously Netanyahu is sort of embracing that, even though himself, he's more of a secular figure, but he's allied with these hardcore religious figures and, who have absolutely psychotic ideas about what the state should be and what they should do to effectuate it. You end up with absolute horror, which is exactly what we have.
All right. So y'all just remember, you know what I mean? The video that I told you at the beginning of this video that I done 5 months ago, right? Because we got into more scripture and stuff on that video and talked about them stealing the identity. But you remember that video, if you get a chance, go back and watch it. Okay. But as far as what we got going on here with this, you see, what is she doing? She's blaming the religion, but they still pulled that clip. And I think I used that clip in that old video with that one woman talking about, oh, this is what it really is, the greater Israel stuff, right? So the bottom line is they're pulling this out here like this is something brand new. This ain't brand new. Y'all been knowing about this, right? But now all of a sudden, for whatever reason, they're allowing all these different people to go out and comment on it, you know what I'm saying, and talk about, oh, these religious Zionists, and they're just, about ready to start World War III and all this type of whatever, when you know good and well that that's been the plan the whole time. You see what I'm saying? And now you stand on your soapbox to speak against religion as if y'all Satanists aren't a part of a religion or a cult. You see what I'm saying? Y'all are the ones that really went and put all of this stuff into motion. You know what I'm saying? Y'all don't never want to tell about how the Arabs was involved in the scattering of the children of Israel via the Arab slave trade. You don't want to talk about that, do you? You don't want to talk about, you know what I mean, the transatlantic slave trade, how the, Hamites, also, you know what I'm saying, the Catholics, also the Jewish people who own the slave ships and the plantations, how all of that was involved in the scattering of the children of Israel. Oh, no, you don't want to talk about that. You just want to say this, the Jewish people coming back, and this is why we're going to have all these problems. Well, that's what Albert Pike said. That's exactly what Albert Pike said. That's why it's all staged, right? But just like what she said, you can't get, these Democratic people who want to support that, but you get the presidents and the Congress, the Democrats that's going to support it. You can't get all these Republicans, but guess what? You can get all the Republican senators and the congressmen and the presidents that's going to support it. So, all this stuff where you keep on acting like you don't know what's going on, these people are bought and paid for. You know what it is. All it takes is for them to get on the news and say that the Arabs, one of these Arab nations attacked the United States and they drop a bomb and blow something up. Then the next thing you know, oh, we need to go to war. We need to get them ragheads. They're trying to kill us, right? And that's what you're going to do. So the bottom line is, this is what we got to watch out for. You know what I'm saying? Y'all pay attention to what's going on in the Middle East, especially in September. They talking all this stuff about, the rapture and all this type of stuff, whatever. And you just got to know, right, that something probably is going to go down. I'm not saying it is. I don't know. But by them getting to that UN General Assembly, all this stuff with Iran, Trump meeting with Putin and all this type of stuff, something's going down, right? I'm just telling you, stay prayed up. You know what I'm saying? Till we meet again, I appreciate y'all watching. Thanks for your time. Again, until we meet again, the Most High bless you all. Shalom.